So the problem with this center console is quite difficult to explain, I think, but some of the buttons work and some of the buttons don't, and not all of the time. The first thing is, if we press these buttons here where we're changing the position, you'll see that on the screen it does something completely different to what you're expecting. So that's the heated, the blower up there, what have you. Climate button not working, recycle button not working, and the fan up and fan down buttons don't work. However, if you press these two very, very hard like that, you'll find that the climate button now works, which is an interesting thing, but these buttons still don't work. And now pressing the fan button has brought that mono on. This AC button does still work, and that's working okay. What is interesting though is on this side where we've got this auto button, this does not feel right. This feels strange when you press it. It doesn't. It's kind of spongy. It's difficult to explain. There's a very definite click on this. You can probably hear it, but on the other side we don't get that. Down the right hand side, the map doesn't work. Info, home, sound, left and right, they don't work at all, but you can see that they are interfering when you press them with other things that are set on the display. On the left hand side, menu doesn't work, phone doesn't work, traffic button doesn't work, the radio button sometimes works. I've got a feeling that one of the buttons is that the switch behind is broken, the spring is broken or something, and that it's probably stuck down. What'll happen is the microprocessor won't have all of these inputs. It'll have something like 4 or 5 inputs, and they'll be multiplexed. So that's why you're losing quite a lot of the buttons at the same time. So I might take it apart and have a quick look, see what we get. So after stripping this down, what I don't see is any cracks in the circuit board. It looks fine on both sides. This is the one that's problematic. I've checked this rotary switch. It's these two contacts here. That looks fine, and compared it with the one that we know works fine, which is on this side. So looking down inside here, it looks like it makes a contact on the circuit board in the middle there, and if you press this, it's definitely not right. It feels all squidgy. So this switch is going to have to come off. So after removal of that switch, which was not easy because it uses lead-free solder and God knows what, there's a little rubber piece here. As you can see, this little rubber piece, and what that does is that makes the contact on the circuit board, and this little rubber bit was all squished up inside the switch, and you can see where it makes contact on here. If you look carefully, it's this thing here. So then once again the button starts to click properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reassemble that, put it back on the circuit board, and that'll probably fix the radio. I'll have a very good look around for any other fractures or anything like that, and then but it all looks good so far. Now the button presses properly, and if you look down you can see maybe that the rubber is in the right place. Turn that off, maybe that makes it easier, I don't know. Here we are. So now we've got to reassemble the entire bleeding thing, which is all these parts you see here and a few other bits and pieces besides, before we can test it. But that's what you got to do. Okay, so with that fully assembled with 50 million screws that it has in it, this is looking a lot better. So that has got the proper noises, and all of these buttons feel fine, and both of these feel exactly the same now. So now we just need to put it on the rest of the system and power it up. And now for the moment of truth. I've plugged it in and it's powered up from this power supply here. It's quite curious that it's drawing 1.3 amps, but I think that's normal. Let's hope that it is. So it should power up. There we are. The engine is definitely off because you are not connected to an engine at the moment. And so volume is working. Menu button didn't work before, did it? Oh yes, check it out. Nav, CD. How's it know it's in Stourbridge? There's no antenna. Radio hasn't forgotten its settings. Traffic's working okay. Phone button isn't doing anything, but it might be because it's not currently connected to a phone. Home, map. That looks like it's working. Brilliant. I've not been able to use any of those settings for quite some time. I imagine the climate control and everything, they do work. I'm not quite sure. I don't expect those to light up because they need to talk to the CAN bus in the car, but now, now I guess we should go and try this in the car. Ford had already quoted £1,800 plus VAT to fix the radio. They've had it probably 4 or 5 times and have been unable to fix it. They've updated the software, they've done various things, but at the end of the day they're not able to repair it. I'm not surprised about that at all, because board level repairs are not something that a dealer would normally do. None of the parts are available anyway, so as it's really regarded as a total write-off, and that entire centre console will be replaced at £1,800 cost to the company, we really have nothing to lose to attempt to repair on this. So let's put it back in and see if it works. So before screwing the entire console back together, because it is quite complicated and there's a lot of bits and pieces in there, always a good idea to test this thing in situ. So what I've done is I've connected everything up, and what we'll do is we'll turn the ignition on. Am I in gear? I'm not going to start the engine anyway, that should be fine. And I have already powered it up and put the code in, so I know that works. So we'll give it a go. So there we go, and let's see if it works. Yeah, there's radio 2, in case you didn't believe me. Climate control buttons, these are all working fine. Recirc works. Fans up and down. Demist. Map is working. Info, home, sound. Left and right probably needs to be on a station first. Nav, menu button, which I haven't been able to get into for almost a year now. Traffic announcements on off. That looks good. That looks like it's working absolutely fine. So I'll screw it all back together again now. So the repair is complete. I've found all the bits and shoved them all back together again, and after a little bit of swearing, most bits fitted properly, except I haven't quite got that bit in properly, have I? Nope, is that not going in? It's going on. Try that way around. There you go. So that's all back together, and everything works fine. Here's the phone button. Hopefully that won't mess up my video recording. But other than that, it's working absolutely fine. Look at that. Wow, I can now mess with the heating, which is great. Perhaps the important thing is that now the resale value of the car is probably back to where it should be. So thanks for watching.